Hi. Oh, no, wait, there's a bit of music. No, apparently I carry on. This is going very well. So, welcome to the coveted after lunch spot. I'm delighted to be joined by Carolyn McCall. Your first RTS, can you feel the excitement? It's, yeah.
Palpable.
Yeah. So, a couple of quick bits of housekeeping before we start talking to Carolyn. One is, this is news just in. There's been a lot of talk about Francis Drake today. I don't know if you heard reference as a metaphor. Sir, he wasn't fussy about the sir, but to be fair, he was Sir Francis Drake. Just an update. Very good metaphor, but he lost to the Spanish and died of dysentery, I've discovered. So I don't know where that takes the metaphor.
Lovely.
By the way, I went to a state school, so I looked that up on Google. I didn't know that. So that's important. The second point, just before talking to Carolyn, is that as some of you may know, few of you will care, I make television programs, and obviously ITV is an important place for me to take shows. I want you to understand that does not compromise me in any way in terms of how tough I'm going to be, and I will be asking Carolyn where she went on holiday, what's her favourite colour, I'm not going to, and what's her desert island dish. So I will absolutely go for it today, ladies and gentlemen. Carolyn, welcome to the RTS. I wanted to start in a way by asking you how you think about ITV. As in, it's not a job you had to do. You had run EasyJet very successfully. You joined sort of 9 months ago or so. And I suppose EasyJet was a very clear brand, a clear consumer brand by the end of it. How do you think about ITV as a brand? What does it sort of represent? What does it mean to you?
That's really interesting, because EasyJet in 2010 was a very blurred and fuzzy brand. No one knew what it was there for, really. I think with ITV, because of the amazing programs that it has, so it has program brands, which are extremely well known. And then I think people relate to them because they feel part of that community. And that doesn't matter whether it's Coronation Street or Emmerdale or Love Island or whatever it is, they feel very passionately about what they're watching. And then, of course, there's what ITV stands for, which is important to consumers because it's been around for a very long time. And I think it kind of signifies to many people, it's very friendly, it's very accessible, it's very, it's kind of them. You know, it's not talking down to them, it's not patronising, it's not, patrician in any way. Right. And those are really important qualities that have come through quite clearly. But I think, and it's a very creative brand, actually. So the things that people internally say is how creative ITV is. And what I found is that people weren't really saying that externally. And so it was bridging this thing about the programme brands and ITV and what ITV brings you, which is interesting.
So if you get, because you strike me, I don't know how true this is, I mean, you're not someone that would just want to sort of turn up and sit around and let it all happen. You turned EasyJet around, right? And so presumably, though you've talked about strategy refresh, that sounds a bit dull. You want to do more than that, don't you? Don't you want to get your teeth?
I just talk about the strategy now. I mean, I don't talk about refresh. I just simply think that all strategy is evolving, right? Everyone, you heard Tony, many of you will have heard Tony today, everything is changing. And so you have to have a strategy just evolves. And sometimes it has to be bolder in some areas, and sometimes it's got to do exactly what it was doing because it was working. So I don't have any worry about what was and what is going to be. I just think it's a continuum, but you've just got to keep making sure that you're making the step changes in strategy where it really matters. At EasyJet, that was all about the customer. At ITV, it's all about the change in viewers, the change in advertisers, and also this thing about being a contemporary, relevant, modern brand, because it has to be seen in that way by all its audiences.
And what do you think the audiences do? What do they think about ITV?
Currently?
What do they think?
I think that at the moment they would, they really like ITV, but they relate it to it being very comfortable, secure, comfortable, trusted, which is a real strength. But it's like people describe it like a cup of tea on a cold winter's night, so very comforting. Right. And those are all really good qualities about the brand. But I think we also want to be seen to be innovative and to be able to give people things wherever they want it, whenever they want it, things that really meet, their needs. So it's kind of just making sure that we are getting a broader, so light viewers who come in maybe once a week or twice a week, we know they would watch us more if they thought differently about the brand. So we can put up a whole range of our programs, Liar, Trauma, Innocent, all sorts of brilliant drama. And viewers will ascribe them to either the BBC or Netflix, never to ITV.
Right.
Which is really interesting.
And what's that about? I mean,
That's all about the brand. That's about how they perceive the brand. They don't see the brand as doing really brilliant, high-quality drama consistently.
Right.
But it does. I mean, ITV does, as you know, do amazing. I mean, The Bodyguard, I should just say, I'm delighted it's doing 10 million on the BBC, because this is brilliant for TV, but it was made by ITV Studios.
By the way, do you know how it ends?
I do,
Right.
but I
do you want
can't
to just
tell
share
you.
that?
No.
You can't.
No.
Extraordinary way to do your first RTS, not to give the ending of a show.
Everyone,
It's a tradition.
Amazing,
Everyone
isn't
gives it.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
But well, let's jump around. I say jump around according to my bit of paper. It won't feel like it to you. And indeed, that should have been more of an internal monologue, if I'm honest. But what?
Do you do that often?
Often, yeah. Overly strong mother is the issue. So let's talk about Vanity Fair and Bodyguard, because they're both on the same night, as you know.
Yeah.
Vanity Fair, I mean, is it a success? Not a success?
I think it's doing okay.
Okay.
Right? It's consolidating around 4 or 5 million. Probably more near the 4, actually.
Okay.
But it will consolidate at higher,
Right.
and I think it will build.
Okay.
But it is a different kind of drama. I mean, it's important to say Vanity
Sure.
Fair is a period drama, but not as you would expect it. It is a modern take on a
Got it.
period drama. So it's not. So for people who love period dramas, it's not going to be what they were expecting. It's not Victoria.
Got it.
Or The Crown.
But I guess what I was going to drive at was that there they are up against each other, if you like, and so you might sit there and think, well, the BBC have got the hit, and ITV hasn't, has done okay, not worked, however you want to think about it. For you, and you look at it as the ITV strategy, is that a win? As in, you make The Bodyguard, so that's an ITV Studios production. Vanity Fair is sort of broad. How does that feel when you are you
I think
up
it's okay.
on the night?
I mean, no, not at all. I think it's a win. One, I think it's a win for TV. Because I think to get, what we say consistently is the only place you can get these massive audiences is TV. And it's actually the BBC and ITV. That's where you get, and that's very important for us because we're a commercial PSB and we make a lot of advertising money on those audiences. Now, we also have obviously made quite a lot of money on The Bodyguard because we produced it. But we also did a co-pro where Netflix have got I think Netflix has got global rights to that. Yeah. So it is a win for us on both. On both, and kind of that's what the strategy is. It's to very much strengthen the broadcast area, the division, to invest in marketing, to invest in getting those light viewers, to invest in some content. So the budget is not going down. It's 1.1 billion. And it will, we hope, stay at that level. But then it is to grow content, to grow our studios business. And then we might come on to the third bit, which is about direct to consumers.
We will definitely do that. So if one thinks about the Adam and the previous CEO, I think the studios and investing in IP and buying companies in America. So you're saying, I think that was a good strategy and one you want to continue to drill down in? You want to go further in that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're currently consolidating what we've got. Because Adam doubled the business, the studio's business in 5 years. So within that, there's quite a lot you can do to make it operate more efficiently, all of those things. But it was absolutely, I think, the right strategy because it gives us another profit pool. And that's what, we needed. We need that. We need to diversify from advertising, but not because advertising is terrible. It's actually very resilient given everything that's gone on in our economy. But actually, it's good to have a diversified ITV.
And we read that your ITV are in the process to buy Endemol Shine.
Do you read that?
I've read that. Or maybe it was a text, I can't remember. But I think I read it in the Sunday Times. So are you in that race?
So that speculation, we never ever comment on speculation.
And just imagine, so fine, you can't talk about that, but imagine there was a big global, what question would that be answering?
I think the most important thing I would be saying, that the most important thing for us is that we can organically grow studios, because we're growing at about 5% a year, and we would, whatever we looked at from now onwards in studios would have to be very financially disciplined, because we're not just growing for growth. We're growing to profitably grow and to give returns to shareholders. Because the difference between us, as you all know, and other PSBs, is that we are not publicly funded. We have to make all our money and we have to return money to shareholders. Yeah. So we have to be incredibly disciplined about any acquisition we make, whether that's small or large. It doesn't really matter.
And should, there's obviously a very healthy UK independent production community, many of whom think very globally. Should those indies that are not part of the ITV family, which as you say has increased, and who knows whether it increases or not in the future, should they bring their ideas to you? I'm asking for a friend.
Well, I'm surprised you would ask that, because I think that the relationship between ITV and the indies is a strong one. And I believe that they would always come to ITV. So I know that even when we are talking to people who are looking to exit their own businesses and to be bought, one of the biggest attractions about ITV is creative autonomy, number one. Right. But the second thing is that they might get onto ITV1, because that gives them the most amazing showcase. And once they get that, millions of viewers, they then actually get global IP that can be monetized. So I don't understand why indies wouldn't want to bring their ideas to us. And I think also we've got a fantastic commissioning team in Polly and Shu and Sue Murphy and Kevin, of course, and Ro and all of that. I mean, they're a brilliant team. Yeah. And they'll be very open. And I can tell you, just talking to them, they will take the best ideas. They really will. I mean, I know we're an integrated producer broadcaster, and that's obviously a big advantage for us strategically, but they want the best creative ideas. That's what they're judged on.
Right. So just now,
so bring your ideas.
No, of course. No, it's annoying they have to be good, that's all.
Don't bother with the bad
God, things have changed around there. So if we think about the sort of theme of today, Carolyn, which is obviously scale and how you think about that, and in particular, we've heard a number of sessions talk of the fangs and what they represent. So I suppose the sort of broad question to you is how it's pretty traditional over the last 4 or 5 years for them to be described as frenemies, and so there's a sort of whole way of talking. You're new, if you like, to this. How do you think about the threat or not threat? What does it feel like to you?
Well, I'd say that this is probably another phase of TV. This is a completely different phase to the ones we've been in before. It is a new phase. And I think that it is strategically, exactly as Tony said, there are real opportunities, but there are obviously threats and challenges. And I think actually it is interesting, because I don't like the word frenemy, but the fact is, we will be working with Google on a whole load of things on data and tech, and then on the next minute, we'll be competing with them for advertising. So you have to be much more flexible about how you work with people in the sector. And I think competition is competition, right? So, Netflix and Amazon are competition for time. Not really for it is for viewers, but it's for viewers' time. Yeah, and therefore you have to have the best programs for the right audiences, And if you have those, Love Island is a great example of that, which is everyone says young people don't. I mean, they watched it in droves. Virtually 1 in 2 16 and 34-year-olds were watching Love Island.
Did you watch it?
I did watch some of it. Yes, I did. But my daughter, who's 15, was telling me almost on a daily basis what to know. Right. So I think competition is competition, but you've got to make sure you're investing in the right areas, and I think there has to be a level playing field. There has to be, because if there isn't a level playing field, both on the advertising side and on the content editorial side, then actually the PSBs are going to be hindered and hampered.
And you think, Tony was talking earlier about the sort of real threat or problems for the PSBs and needing to hang on to the values they represent. You feel passionately about that? That's something you feel?
I do. I wouldn't disagree with anything Tony said about being impassioned about why PSBs are so important. They are critical to Britain. And British people love British-originated content. And just because they love Netflix doesn't mean they want everything from Netflix. They want more. Right. They want that as well as the BBC and ITV and Channel 4. So I think, and democracy and all of those things, the fact that you can trust us, we're a very safe environment, all of those things are critical for our society and democracy, obviously. So I think that is important. I don't think we should, I'm not whinging about Netflix or Amazon or Google. I'm not whinging about them. They are there to do what they're doing. They're making, a lot of money. They improve, some people, they've improved people's lives, right? So it's not one or the other, but it is about ensuring that you don't have this, as Tony said, we are highly regulated in every single way. I mean, the processes we go through for advertising just to get ads on TV, and you just go on Google, and they self-regulate. So it's a big disparity.
And how urgent is that issue? So the issue of needing to regulate them, is that how urgent do you feel that is?
Well, see, I think I have a sense of urgency about it. I do, because I think that I've come in and I feel we do so many things brilliantly, and we're in a very strong position. And we've had the most amazing year, right? We have had the World Cup, Love Island. We've had brilliant dramas. We've done very, very well in viewing this year, and actually commercially very resilient. But when you look forward, you kind of feel, economic challenges, global giant threats, et cetera, you can't, there's not much that you can be 100% predictable about, right? It's not like it was. Sure. And so in light of that, I think there is an urgency. Because if you leave it too long, there'll be precedents set and nothing will change.
And so one way of dealing with this, if you like, in the broad terms, is there's a lot of talk about a UK version of Netflix, sort of kangaroo, sort of some years later, a UK SVOD service. And again, what we hear is that you're talking to BBC and others about setting that up. Is that what's? Can you give us a flavour of that?
What I have said is that one, we are not going to be a British Netflix, right? I think Netflix is Netflix, right. And we are we, right? ITV is ITV, and we need to play to our strengths. I think there is a real opportunity, and I've said this publicly, that we've done a huge amount of research, and there is no question that there is a demand for British content that people have missed,
right.
and they're willing to pay for it. So there is ample evidence to say that even people with a subscription service today, a third of them would pay for another subscription
right.
service. So this thing about people having multiple subscriptions is one that is coming through very, very loudly. And that's good for us, because I think that gives us an opportunity in subscription video on demand. So we're already really strong on VOD, on video on demand. We do that well. We're investing in the hub. It will become much more than catch up. But I think subscription VOD is a different kind of business with very different, it's got very different economics, actually.
Right.
And we are talking to partners there, but I can't say where we're up to or what we're saying or how we're doing it.
Got it. But just assume collaboration was, clearly it would be very complicated and so on. Is there a point at which you say, we're going it alone? And if that is the case, I suppose one of the things to try and think about is the sheer sums of money that Tony talked about, but everyone is aware of, so what that sort of content spend is, whether you're Netflix, Amazon, whatever. How do you handle that? If you went it alone, would we be talking about huge new sums of money being piled in so that you can get your Crown, so that you can get your House of Cards, maybe not House of Cards, bad example.
So we haven't talked about that, and the first people we should probably talk to about that is the shareholders. And,
I don't know, second, I think here.
Yeah, maybe second. First, yeah. But I think that we would have a very phased approach to it. We wouldn't be doing a big bang. In fact, very few streaming services start with everything they're going to do, and I think that we'll have to wait and see. I think you will need any streaming service will need some original content, but I think that comes maybe further down the line.
But I suppose that, by the way, this is not actually necessarily an ITV question. It's for any of you guys, I guess, which is that when Netflix, they took a big bet on in fact House of Cards. I think it was very big. And are you in a position where you can make that sort of play to really get critical mass? I
think we have different things. We have different assets at our disposal. We've got a huge amount of library and archive content. We are also producing content all the time. Sure. Some which we're selling to other partners, some which we're putting onto TV. There are all sorts of ways I think you could look at this. It doesn't always have to be the same model as Netflix. And we've looked at different models, and we'll come out and say what we're planning to do, but it will not be, something that is big and flashy and really expensive at all. I mean, I think there's different ways we have to, and we're going to be learning as well. So we're going to be, starting and learning as we go along.
In a second, we'll take some questions. So do get ready, ladies and gentlemen, if you have questions. But I just wanted, in terms of the way you, one of the things I think it feels you're going to bring to ITV and you hope to bring is this notion of being consumer-facing, right, and having that consumer. So firstly, are you surprised at how little ITV interacts with consumers? And can you just tell us a bit, when you talk about that, what is it you mean? Do you give us some sort of concrete examples?
Okay, so I think that ITV has this great fan club, with all sorts of different programs. But it is quite passive. I mean, they're very excited about us, but we don't really communicate with them.
Right.
And then where we do, and we have got data all across ITV, but it tends to be transactional. It tends to be a competition, a promotion, a this or that. It's all in silos, and it doesn't tend to develop a relationship with the person who's really interested in you. And so I think what I mean by direct-to-consumer is kind of building on relationships, starting to have more of a dialogue with people who want that dialogue and want to know more about either ITV drama or sport, or whether they want to know more about, getting deeper into I'm a Celebrity, they want other things, they want to know about events that are coming up, they want to know about when the final is, etc. So you're just building up a relationship, and it also means that you can do much more personalised targeting to them, because you know what they like and you know what they want. And I think that makes people want to spend more time with you as well. And of course there's a commercial benefit to that, because you're then telling them about everything you do and they will spend a bit more money with you. The big direct-to-consumer play really is the subscription video on demand. And we have some experience on that. I mean, Hub Plus is ad-free and portable. That means you can take it to Europe and watch it anywhere in Europe. And it's now got 250,000 subscribers, 250,000. It's amazing. And that's $3.99,
Right, and you're going to spend quite a lot more money on the Hub, right?
We are definitely investing in Hub, because it's about it's got a decent technology platform, but it hasn't got the functionality, and kind of so the user experience is not.
And what would you try and compare it to? Would you think about iPlayer?
I think it would be anywhere between iPlayer and Hulu, actually. Okay. It'd be something like that. That's why I asked that question of the team. And they said that, and I said, well, that sounds good. That's quite good to me.
I'm also nodding along. It sounds very impressive. Okay, we've got 2 minutes 56 left, it says here, because we've got real direct-to-consumer technology in front of us. And we'd love a question or two. There's a question right at the back. And if I can just ask you, this is not specifically to you, sir, but try and keep your questions shorter than the answers.
Okay, Nick Toon from Warner Media. Both you and Tony, Carolyn, have talked about wanting to see more of a level playing field created with the SVODs. I just wondered if you could say a little bit more about what that level playing field looks like in your mind.
So not just with the SVODs, I think it's with Facebook and Google as well. So I think on the content side, it would be about regulating the kind of content that is able to be put up for different age groups. And I think on the advertising side, it needs to be about making sure that if we can't run something, then that same rule applies to them, and ensuring that they become more trusted and safe environments, because a lot of that is programmatic, and so therefore I think part of the issue is you don't know what is being served because it's kind of targeted advertising, and that it's just making sure that regulatory regime is either diminished in TV, which I can't ever imagine it would be, or kind of applies across the board. So the 9 o'clock watershed, I'm not, but it does sound like a very old-fashioned, it does sound very old-fashioned, doesn't it? Because it doesn't exist in any other medium, for instance.
Thank you. Any other question? We've got time for one more question if down the front, I think, unless I've missed, it's nothing personal, Ben. I'm desperately looking for someone else, but no, it'll be you, Ben. Ben Fenton. Okay, Ben, yeah.
Ben Fenton from, Adelman. Hi, Carolyn.
Hello.
I can see what the advantages are to collaborate, to compete. What are the obstacles to it, in your view?
So I think the obstacles are that we have a lot in common about PSB, but we are all funded differently. So for Tony, being funded by the taxpayer and having to justify every penny to the taxpayer and to government is very, very different, I think, to taking commercial decisions about what you will do to compete in the wider world and justify yourselves in terms of returns, which is what ITV has to do. So I think that the different, and they are that therefore, even though it is TV and kind of VOD, there are it's different economics actually, and I think that is an obstacle a bit to because you can't really be completely aligned on everything.
We're just going to Tara's going to sneak in a question, and then we'll end it after that. Probably no time.
Hello, Tara Conlan, RTS, Guardian, you name it, I'll write for it. Just a quick question regarding Endemol Shine. If ITV doesn't buy it, who do you think might?
I have no idea.
As the theme is bigger, better, do you think ITV would be better at being part of a bigger company?
I'm not going to comment on that either. Sorry.
On that bombshell, we are going to end it. It remains me to thank Carolyn for being here today and talking to us. So thank you, Carolyn, very much.